Chapter 41. The Disappearing World. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. Swoosh. Right at this moment, the sound of an arrow splitting the air rang out. Immediately after, a metal arrow filled with anger and infuriation appeared like a meteor right in front of Fang Jingji. From its path, its target was aimed right at the blue fire wolf's eye. Anger radiated from the faint blue pupils of the blue fire wolf. Once again, its body twisted around, snapping open its two flaming front claws. Its charging body quickly halted to a standstill. Just a short standstill. The metal arrow with uncanny accuracy shot past the tip of its nose, carrying along with it the sound of the wind. Fang Jingji was completely stunned. He didn't know who shot the arrow, but that arrow, from both its timing and its accuracy, was extremely incredible. Under normal circumstances, it should have pinned itself right inside the left eye of the blue fire wolf, then, blood spurting out into the air. But the blue fire wolf had actually managed to avoid it. This was too extreme. It was actually able to stop. At this moment, Fang Jingji finally understood why when 20-over-weapon and bow-wielding villagers encountered the blue fire wolf, they could only run. Not only was the blue fire wolf's speed very fast, its flexibility and agility were also incredible. No matter how proficient one's archery skills are, one might still not be able to hit it. To be able to continuously change directions up in the air, it meant that it could, at the most crucial moment, avoid any shots to its vital organs. It was different, compared to those beasts in the previous which had a range of abilities limited to pouncing, biting or sweeping related tactics. It was completely different. Within the pupils of the blue fire wolf, Fang Jingji could sense the presence of wisdom. Did you have to? Fang Jingji was indeed intimidated by the blue fire wolf, but his instinct to run was still there. Once he saw the blue fire wolf's astonishing halt, he once again rolled and smoothly hid himself behind a huge stone. Then, without even having time to catch his breath, a flaming, sharp claw began to reach over. Snap! The huge stone, like a bean curd, quickly shattered. A huge wolf head, its mouth filled with blood, peeked out from above the stone, its faint blue pupils that stared down at Fang Jingji boiled with rage. Under normal judgment, Fang Jingji should be running away now. The blue fire wolf could also somewhat judge that this human kid in front of it would choose to roll backwards once again. Then, at this time, all it needed to do was to leap up towards the location this kid would roll to, and deal the fatal blow. Yet, mysteriously, this time, Fang Jingji didn't have the intention to roll. Not only didn't he roll, he didn't even bother to run. Staring silently at the blue fire wolf, his eyes were somewhat fearful, but, strangely, it also radiated an air of self-confidence. Boom! Just when the blue fire wolf became somewhat suspicious, the ground on which its hind claws stepped on melted like snow, then, its humongous body directly fell through the ground. An opportunity. At this moment, Fang Jingji set aside his fears. With a roar, he pushed the entire pile of broken stones in front of him into the pitfall. Smash you to death. Even though he was unsure whether his actions would be consequential, but shouldn't it at least give him more time? He couldn't run, what else could he do? He could only force himself to fight. It fell in again. A northern mountain village hunting squad member widened his eyes. Shoot! Zhang Yongping once again drew his bow. The bow in his hands faced the skies. That previous arrow was shot by him, just that it was a direct shot. Now, he prepared to do a projectile shot. The other villagers were also mostly experienced, even though their archery skills couldn't compare to Zhang Yongping, their cooperated shots were still very proficient. Instantly, over 20 hunting squad members raised their bows together and shot towards the skies. Over 20 metal arrows rained down into the pitfall where the blue fire wolf lay. Looking at the rain of arrows, he involuntarily took a step back. the northern mountain village people were actually helping him. Recalling the arrow that stopped the blue fire wolf, he quickly confirmed this fact. Without further hesitation, he rapidly carried up stones, using up all the strength in his body to slam it down into the pitfall. Each broken stone fell with an ear-piercing sound. Each stone was like a cannon, producing a loud boom after falling into the pitfall. Awoo! From within the trap, the infuriated howl of the blue fire wolf sounded out once again. Holed up in such a pitfall, it completely couldn't leverage on its speed advantage. Every single arrow that fell from the skies landed with uncanny precision and accuracy on its body. Moreover, the impact of those stones was also unusually powerful. Boom boom boom. The stones and arrows turned into raindrops, continuous and never-ending. Fang Jingji didn't hold back. Zhang Yangping and the Northern Mountain Village hunting squad naturally also didn't hold back. Pulling back the bow, releasing an arrow, once again pulling back the bow, then releasing another arrow, until all the arrows in the quiver behind their backs were expended. It should be dead. Fang Jingji carefully reached his head into the pitfall. He had already thrown down every single stone he could find around him. Looking into the trap, all he could see was stones and metal arrows. Some arrows were even smashed by Fang Jingji, but those arrowheads were securely impaled on a huge body enveloped in blue fur. The faint blue pupils snapped open. Awoo! Even when it was expelled by the wolf pack a few years ago, the blue fire wolf had never felt such rage. It was actually injured by a human child, again and again. Furthermore, he even felt a hint of a death threat. This was the biggest insult to the king's pride. Boom! A loud sound rang out. The blue fire wolf, trapped by stones and arrows, suddenly moved. It leapt, completely dislodging all those stones and arrows. At the same time, Fang Jingji suddenly flinched. Because, at the moment the blue fire wolf shot out, he realized. The bright red patch of fur that extended from its forehead all the way to its tail started to radiate a ray of blood red light. Changed form. Or was it evolution? Could it be so exaggerated? Were the beasts of this world terrifying to such extremes? Fang Jingji didn't think for too long, and instant broke into a sprint. All the ideas he could think of had already been thought of, all he could do had also been done. Even the Northern Mountain Village hunting squad's arrows had been completely used up. Now, other than running, what else could he do? Awoo! The blue fire wolf howled deeply. Its humongous body sprang into the air. It absolutely left no chance of escape for Fang Jingji. A front claw, engulfed in flames, slashed towards him. At this time, would there still be arrows? The answer was obvious. Lead it inside another trap and smash it again. That would probably be a waste of energy. Then, the only choice, was a reckless confrontation. Staring at the flaming razor-sharp claws in front of him, Fang Jingji's face turned white as paper with fear. But, he still gritted his teeth, stood his ground, controlling every single movable substance in his body and concentrating them onto his small arm. Once again, he felt that explosive sensation. Fire. To hell with the fire. There was nothing fanciful about this punch, it was very direct. It didn't even bring along the sound of wind. In a flash, it came into contact with the sharp claws of the blue fire wolf. But this punch produced a mysterious sensation inside Fang Jingji. That it was too quiet. So quiet that he couldn't hear anything at all, as if the entire world didn't exist anymore. All of the flowers, grasses, trees, wood, wind, fire, completely disappeared. Boom! Between the fist and the claw, a powerful impact caused Fang Jingji's chest to feel as if it had been smashed, his entire body naturally flew and rolled backwards. On the other hand, the advancing blue fire wolf, at this moment, also rolled backwards from the same powerful impact. Plop! Both man and wolf, toppled down at almost the same time. At this moment, the entire world became quiet beyond imagination. Not too far away, Zhang Yongping and the Northern Mountain Village hunting squad were completely stunned. They simply couldn't believe what happened just now. It seemed as if the kid and the blue fire wolf met force to force. Then, he and the blue fire wolf actually fell backwards at the same time. Were they evenly matched? Chapter 42. Opened. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. A 7-year-old child and the king of the outskirts of Tsangling Mountain were evenly matched. If they hadn't seen this for themselves, nobody would even have such thoughts, much less believing this incident really happened. At this moment, Zhang Yongping and the Northern Mountain Village hunting squad stared till their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The blue fire wolf was fended off by one punch. Furthermore, it seems to have fallen hard to the ground. How can this be possible? The Northern Mountain Village hunting squad one by one began to mutter, as if they were on a dream journey. They completely couldn't regain their senses after such a powerful shock. Shoot, quickly shoot. Zhang Yongping suddenly shouted out, his face filled with delight. A child who can match up to the blue fire wolf. No matter how he did it, this was an opportunity, a real opportunity. Deputy Captain, I don't have arrows. A Northern Mountain Village hunting squad member dug about in his quiver. It was empty. Oh. Zhang Yongping managed to come to his senses. All the metal arrows seemed to have been expended. What were they supposed to do now? Don't tell me they were supposed to helplessly let such a good opportunity go to waste. Deputy Captain, we are willing. A hunter pulled out a long blade and stepped out. I am also willing. Another hunter pulled out a black spear. Excellent. You are all indeed worthy of being men from the Northern Mountain Village. Charge. Everybody, charge. Zhang Yongping naturally understood everybody's determination. To be able to take advantage of this opportunity to remove the biggest danger in the Tsangling Mountain outskirts, on top of taking a risk, even if they had to lose a few lives, it was still worth it. Awoo. The blue fire wolf who had fallen onto the ground rolled over, disbelief similarly evident in its faint blue pupils. All the blue fur enveloping its body instantly stood up, a thick smell of blood emanating from the fur that extended from its forehead to its tail. It seemed to be undergoing some sort of change. On the other hand, Fang Zhengji was also currently taken aback. I didn't die. And, it seemed like I even fended off the blue fire wolf. What was that sensation just now? The entire hole seemed to have disappeared. I completely wasn't able to sense anything. Or could it be said that, everything was within my senses? What was that all about? Why did it feel like I was perched on the origins of the universe? The Tao of all creations, the disappearing world, origins. Fang Zhengji's eyes suddenly lit up. The huge sealed door within his heart seemed to have been truly opened at this very moment. The Tao of all creations, originates from man himself, understanding all creations, in control of all creations. In control. Control. First and foremost, was control. Control oneself, then, let one's body sense, let one and all creation come together in some sort of harmony. I understand, I finally understand. What he controlled was definitely not any flesh nor blood, but it was his entire self. Man's body, similarly, belonged to all creations. Regardless of whether it's flesh, blood, or bones, they were all made up of some substance. In his past world, this substance was called particles. The smallest substance that can exist independently. Mountains, rivers, flowers, grasses, trees, wood, stone, the existence of everything came about from particles. And what he needed to do was start from controlling his body, to controlling all creations. That door had now been truly opened. That means, next. Fang Zhengji ran. Scampering off and taking to his heels, he fled in a flash into the distance. The door was indeed opened, but still, the blue fire wolf seemed to have opened it earlier than him. After truly understanding, Fang Zhengji now had a more accurate judgment of the blue fire wolf's powers. The blue fire wolf definitely controlled the Tao of all creations, else, it simply couldn't just control its body to such an extent. Most importantly, that fire was a level he definitely currently couldn't compare to. Having accumulated its energy in waiting to strike, the blue fire wolf's eyes instantly turned blank. When it previously thought that Fang Zhengji would definitely run, he instead stood still. Now, when it thought that Fang Zhengji wouldn't run anymore, he instead started to run again. Zhang Yangping and the hunting squad were similarly taken aback. At this moment, raising their long blades and spears, they were rushing wildly towards the blue fire wolf, but halfway, they realized. The child who was able to match up to the blue fire wolf ran away. What was the meaning of this? Could they even work together anymore? Was there still even a tiny bit of rapport between them? The instant Zhang Yangping saw Fang Zhengji fleeing, he had also thought of retreat. But thinking of the injuries the blue fire wolf had suffered, he definitely couldn't give up this opportunity easily. Charge! Using his voice and through his actions, Zhang Yangping took the lead and sent a message to all the hunting squad members. He was determined to kill the blue fire wolf. Charge! The rest of the hunting squad members, seeing that even their deputy captain didn't retreat, naturally also lost any intention of retreating. Under the charge of Zhang Yangping, the 20 over hunting squad members quickly surrounded the blue fire wolf. Then, things became much simpler. Long blades hacked down, the spears thrusted forwards. This kind of coordination was something they had already done countless times. The only thing different this time was that this time, their foe was a king, the blue fire wolf, the lone wolf that ruled the Cangling mountain outskirts, a real monster. The consequences were obvious. How could 20 over hunting squad members defeat the infuriated blue fire wolf? The blue fire wolf's speed, coupled with its unparalleled agility and control over its body, and in addition to its thick and solid coat of fur, left the 20 over hunting squad members simply unable to significantly harm it at all. After merely a few moves, several hunting squad members were injured. Moreover, there was even a hunting squad member who was slashed by the blue fire wolf's claws, tearing out a large piece of flesh. Zhang Yangping instantly panicked. Under normal circumstances, they would run once they encountered the blue fire wolf. They had never truly fought with the blue fire wolf, but seeing the fight between Fang Zhengji and the blue fire wolf outside just now, it had been sent flying by a kick, and stumbled backwards after a punch. This insinuated some assumptions in Zhang Yangping's mind. If it wasn't for this reason, he wouldn't even have had taken such a huge risk, bringing the entire hunting squad under the tooth and claws of the blue fire wolf. It's over, it's over. Zhang Yangping's hands trembled slightly. He never expected such a huge change of events. Even if he wanted to retreat now, it would simply be impossible. Once they ran, the blue fire wolf would definitely seize the opportunity and pounce over. Even under the most conservative of estimates, there would definitely not be less than 5 lives lost. But, if they were to fight on like this, how many more people would die? Dreadfully. The entire hunting square would die here. What to do? What was he supposed to do now? Distracted by his thoughts, Zhang Yangping's movement strayed. The blade that initially hacked towards the blue fire wolf's head strayed from its line of movement and directly hacked onto a piece of stone below the blue fire wolf's feet. Not needing to dodge, the blue fire wolf instantly seized this opportunity. An icy glint of death radiated from its faint blue pupils, shooting out. It had already pounced right in front of Zhang Yangping. Its 2 sharp claws grabbed onto Zhang Yangping's raised arms, then opening its ferocious mouth, it bit down towards Zhang Yangping's throat. Deputy Captain. Deputy Captain. When the hunting members witnessed this scene, a wave of alarmed cries resounded. But, the blue fire wolf was too fast. Even if they wished to save him, they would still have absolutely no way to stop the bite of the blue fire wolf. Its razor-sharp teeth emanated a bloody yet icy smell. Zhang Yangping's eyes widened. Even the usually calm him completely lost all forms of resistance faced with this sudden change of events. All he could do was to stand still and wait for the impending kiss of death. The air, at this moment, seemed to congeal and thicken. The world was so quiet that he could hear the sound of his heartbeat. PSSH. Bright red blood spurt out like a fountain, forming a beautiful lotus-like flower in mid-air. Chapter 43. Due respect to a king. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. The entire Northern Mountain Village hunting squad held their breath. Everyone stared, petrified, at the scene occurring right in front of their eyes. Look at the kid who had suddenly appeared in front of Zhang Yangping, with one hand impaled into the blue fire wolf's throat. It was too fast. Just like a shooting star across the night sky, resplendent yet momentary, nobody had seen clearly how did this kid suddenly appear. Blood continued to gush from the back of the blue fire wolf's neck into the sky, like a fountain. Where the blood sprayed, there were even fairly discernible glints of silver light. Did Fang Jingji run? Under that kind of situation, naturally he ran. Taking the blue fire wolf head on. He wasn't stupid. But, after seeing the Northern Mountain Village hunting squad rush in, he returned. Fighting head on wasn't plausible. A sneak attack was still a very pleasant move. If it was successful, revenge would be taken. If it was unsuccessful, leaving the Northern Mountain Village hunting squad as sacrificial victims, then run away again. With his life guaranteed, Fang Jingji, who had decided on a sneak attack, stealthily hid behind the sea of people. The minds of all 20 over hunting squad members at this instant were focused entirely on one thing, that was surrounding and attacking the blue fire wolf. Who would even randomly decide to take a few looks behind his back? Of course, Fang Jingji was also very cautious. Rather than making a commotion by shouting and screaming, he carefully made use of the villagers' bodies to block the blue fire wolf's vision. A sneak attack was a skill-based move, emphasizing on avoiding the enemy in constantly changing positions. In order to achieve this, one must first choose the best shield. Hence, as the deputy captain of the Northern Mountain Village hunting squad, Zhang Yangping was naturally the best choice. Initially, Fang Jingji wanted to add in a stab or something after Zhang Yangping managed to hit and injure the blue fire wolf. Unfortunately, Zhang Yangping and his squad failed badly in living up to his expectations, causing him to be very disappointed. Not only did they not create any good opportunities for him to stab the blue fire wolf, now he even landed himself into great danger. Then, the blue fire wolf pounced, its two large claws perched firmly on the two raised hands of Zhang Yangping, its huge mouth already 1 inch away from Zhang Yangping's throat. Right at this life-threatening moment, Fang Jingji's eyes lit up. An opportunity. It was really a God-given opportunity. The blue fire wolf's toughest parts were naturally its back and the fur enveloping its body. On the other hand, its most vulnerable part was definitely its neck. That was a fatal part, and was also where the fur was the softest. Save Zhang Yangping. He actually didn't really consider this. But, foregoing such a good opportunity was definitely punishable by heaven. Hence, Fang Jingji acted. Even though Zhang Yangping's hands were raised, it didn't hinder the movement of his small body at all. In a flash, he shot out from behind Zhang Yangping's arms to his front, then, forcefully stabbed forward with the dagger he had been hiding inside his shoe. He had to kill in one blow. How could Fang Jingji hold back? Strength, speed, were at its maximum. These wasn't even the slightest sound of wind, and the dagger immediately impaled its way through blue fire wolf's throat. The extra strength even pierced a hole through the back of the blue fire wolf's neck. Then, blood spurted out from the hole, forming a beautiful flower of blood. The blue fire wolf's faint blue pupils stared motionlessly at Fang Zhengji beneath its body. Even at death, it couldn't believe that it had actually died under the hands of a human child. But, with its throat pierced, and having lost a huge amount of blood, it felt its strength disappear rapidly. The two claws perched on Zhang Yangping's shoulders became weak and powerless. Goo! The blue fire wolf wanted to howl, but, as blood spurted out from its throat, blood also flowed out from its mouth. All it could manage was a gargling sound. Swoosh! Fang Zhengji pulled back. After hitting the target, he had to be careful of the blue fire wolf's last struggle. The dagger extracted itself from the blue fire wolf's neck. Blood once again spurted out. Regardless of whether it was the neck, or the throat, huge amounts of blood flowed out uncontrollably. The blue fire wolf was filled with hate and anger. It wanted to kill all of the cruel human race. Hence, in the end, it still lifted up its claws and slammed down with all its remaining strength. What a pity! Fang Zhengji had already slipped behind the back of Zhang Yangping. Then, the stunned Zhang Yangping once again became the avenue for the blue fire wolf to vent its rage. Even though the blue fire wolf's last remaining strength wasn't enough to deal a fatal blow, but it still managed to rip apart the leather hide on his body, slashing 2 bloody wounds on his arm. The impact sent him flying. Boom! Boom! 2 sounds rang out almost at the same time. One was the sound of Zhang Yangping falling the ground, the other was the powerless blue fire wolf slamming into the ground. Its faint blue pupils stared fixated on Fang Zhengji's body. It couldn't accept this, it really couldn't accept this. Because, even at the last moment, it didn't even manage to hit Fang Zhengji once. Fang Zhengji was also looking at the blue fire wolf. He read the dissatisfaction in the blue fire wolf's eyes. Then, he slowly made his way towards the blue fire wolf, lifting up its claw with his small arm, and, softly and briefly, placed it on his body. This was the due respect shown to the king. A trace of surprise flashed in the pupils of the blue fire wolf, then, its huge mouth seemed to show a hint of a satisfied smile, and then slowly closed its eyes. Bedo Derem, Deputy Captain. Deputy Captain, are you all right? At this moment, the Northern Mountain Village hunting squad had managed to regain their senses. All of them rushed towards Zhang Yangping's side. No problem, no problem. Zhang Yangping patted off the dirt from his body, then looked at the wound on his arm and shook his head. Having escaped from right under the kiss of death, this small injury was nothing. Seeing Zhang Yangping's injury, all the hunting squad members began to worry. One after another, they took out their herbs and rapidly bandaged up Zhang Yangping's injury. A moment later, Zhang Yangping led the Northern Mountain Village hunting squad to Fang Zhengji's side. Zhang Yangping expresses my gratitude towards little brother for saving my life, at the same time, representing all the villages within the area, expresses my gratitude towards little brother for helping Cangling Mountain to eliminate this blue fire wolf. So, this blue fire wolf is now my prey. Fang Zhengji looked at the blue fire wolf in front of him. Having known the ropes, he saw that the skin of the blue fire wolf was definitely worth quite some silver. Ha ha. Of course. Zhang Yangping nodded. Alright, the wolf skin belongs to me, you all can have the rest. Fang Zhengji waved his hand, seeming extremely generous. But in reality, the fundamental reason was, if he really were to carry such a big blue fire wolf back to the village, it would be extremely tiring. Thank you so much. Zhang Yangping became truly touched. The blue fire wolf's meat wasn't worth much silver, but, if he brought this blue fire wolf back to the village, it could resolve the pent-up worries and frustrations of the villagers. Those villagers whose lives were ruined by the blue fire wolf would definitely be very moved. There is one thing I want to ask, how Did you all know the pitfall locations within the rock formation? Fang Zhengji expressed the greatest suspicion in his heart. From the second the Northern Mountain Village hunting squad appeared, to the moment the 20 over people surrounded and fought the blue fire wolf, during the entire process not a single person stepped into the trap. Was that possible? Chapter 44. Solving the Mystery. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. Once Fang Zhengji's question came, Zhang Yangping and the rest of the Northern Mountain Village hunting squad suddenly quietened down. Looking around, their gaze fleeted among one another. Zhang Yangping looked at Fang Zhengji, his mouth moved. A few times, he wanted to speak, but yet swallowed his words. Fang Zhengji knew that this question would be tough to answer, but if he didn't understand the truth, he would definitely be unsatisfied. But, he didn't rush them. Because, he knew that if he forced Zhang Yangping and the hunting squad, the answer he received would probably not be true. They had to be truly willing to do it. A few of the Northern Mountain Village, seeing that both Zhang Yangping and Fang Zhengji remained silent, began to peel off the blue fire wolf's skin. Witnessing this scene, Fang Zhengji's mind wavered, and finally made a firm resolution. Little brother, what is your name? Fang Zhengji. Oh, Fang Zhengji, honest and upright in your conduct, 1. A good name indeed. Previously, I only knew little brother Zhengji as a sneak attacker, who knew that you would be such a truly brave and intelligent person. Zhang Yangping praised Fang Zhengji. Then, he paused and sighed. Not only did little brother Zhengji save my life, you saved the lives of the entire Northern Mountain Village hunting squad, and even eliminated the blue fire wolf for all the villages within the area. I won't hide anymore, but I indeed feel rather guilty. The reason is, we had already acquired your Southern Mountain Village pitfall location map. As he spoke, Zhang Yangping retrieved a yellowish hand-drawn illustration from his pocket and passed it over to Fang Zhengji. Fang Zhengji saw at the yellow illustration Zhang Yangping handed over. He became really infuriated. All the effort and time he had spent was actually taken away by other people just like this. This was an act of piracy. Shameless. Who did this? Only the Southern Mountain Village hunting squad possessed the rock formation illustration, it simply couldn't have spread. Was it Wang Anhua? Fang Zhengji thought of a person, but quickly dismissed that thought. As a Sir from the Hall of Dao, receiving the most honorable treatment possible from the Southern Mountain Village, and also having no conflict of interest at all with him, there was simply no need to do such a thing. Conflict of interest. Pondering carefully, the Northern Mountain Village hunting squad seemed to have long been hiding in ambush. Furthermore, when they appeared, they evidently didn't know about the presence of the blue fire wolf. Else, they couldn't have run away immediately after seeing the blue fire wolf leap out from the pitfall. That means, everything that happened was directed at him. It's Li Zhuangshi. In a flash, Fang Zhengji was certain. It was definitely Li Zhuangshi's doing. Because, only as the previous deputy captain of the hunting squad could he had acquired the rock formation illustration. I never thought that little brother Zhengji actually guessed it so quickly. It is indeed Li Zhuangshi who gave us the illustration. After hearing Fang Zhengji utter the two words Li Zhuangshi, he was instantly taken aback. He had guessed who the betrayer was based on one sentence. Wasn't this a little too smart? A shiver went down Zhang Yangping's back. He was only 7. Such great wisdom and such great strength, this was simply something that came out of a nightmare. As the previous deputy captain of the Southern Mountain Village hunting squad, Li Zhuangshi had naturally met with Zhang Yangping before. Although Zhang Yangping didn't understand Li Zhuangshi's intentions, but one thing was for sure. Being in possession of that pitfall location map could only benefit the Northern Mountain Village. There was no harm. But the current circumstances seemed to have went beyond expectations. After witnessing first-hand Fang Zhengji's intense battle with the blue fire wolf, he had already lost any intention of confronting Fang Jingji. All he wished was for Fang Jingji to spare the lives of the Northern Mountain Village hunting squad, so much so that he was even willing to convince the Northern Mountain village chief to give a sum of money every month to the Southern Mountain Village. There was only one goal. Peace. I need you to do something for me. Fang Jingji finally confirmed his thoughts after listening to Zhang Yangping's confession. Little brother Jingji, please say. Zhang Yangping nodded. Follow me to the Southern Mountain Village and personally testify that it was Li Zhuangshi who gave the Northern Mountain Village this illustration. Fang Jingji knew that based on Li Zhuangshi's position in the Southern Mountain Village, if there was only the illustration as evidence, and not a personal testification, village chief Meng Bai would likely not believe this. Alright. At this moment, Zhang Yangping had already decided to make peace with the Southern Mountain Village and hence naturally didn't dare to offend Fang Jingji. At the same time, he could discuss with the Southern Mountain village chief about his future plans of making peace. The Northern Mountain Village hunting squad were indeed proficient. Within a short amount of time, the skin of the blue fire wolf had been completely peeled. Removing his large basket, Fang Jingji placed the blue fire wolf skin inside it, and walked with Zhang Yangping towards the Southern Mountain Village. Very quickly, they reached the Southern Mountain Village. Today, Fang Jingji had secretly went up the mountain, hence there was nobody to welcome him. Hence, he led Zhang Yangping directly to village chief Meng Bai's house. Village chief Meng Bai was currently lying on a wooden chair, smoking his cigar. When he suddenly saw Fang Jingji and Zhang Yangping walk in, he was instantly taken aback. Oh, isn't this Yangping from the Northern Mountain Village? Why would you have come to our Southern Mountain Village? Wife. Pour a cup of good tea. Village chief Meng Bai was rather familiar with this key figure in the Northern Mountain Village. He was calm, and was able to look at the big picture. If things went smoothly, he would definitely be the next village chief of the Northern Mountain Village. Hence, village chief Meng Bai was more courteous towards him. On the other hand, his treatment of Fang Jingji naturally differed greatly. Very quickly, a cup of tea was served. Zhang Yangping didn't dare to drink, and instead stared strangely at the empty table in front of Fang Jingji. He really couldn't understand, based on Fang Jingji's abilities, he should be extremely well respected in the village. Why did it seem that village chief Meng Bai treated Fang Jingji as just an ordinary villager? Little brother Jingji, please drink. With 2 hands, Zhang Yangping brought the cup of tea in front of Fang Jingji. A hint of suspicion instantly appeared in village chief Meng Bai's eyes. Only at this moment did he realize that Fang Jingji seemed to have arrived with Zhang Yangping. Did this child Jingji bring Yangping over? Don't worry, just ignore him, this tea is for guests. Village chief Meng Bai waved, his expression unconcerned. Zhang Yangping was taken aback once again. In his heart, he respected people based on their strength, not their positions. If even Fang Jingji wasn't qualified to drink this cup of tea, then as a guest, how could he bring himself to drink it? Since little brother Jingji didn't drink, then this tea. I won't drink it. When Zhang Yangping finished his sentence, he immediately turned over the cup, and directly poured the tea onto the floor. Village chief Meng Bai was now truly somewhat stunned. He had treated Zhang Yangping well with a good gift, yet he poured this cup of tea away. Don't tell me he came here today to cause trouble. As he thought, village chief Meng Bai sort of understood, he definitely came to fight for territory in the Cangling Mountain. Since you have already came over, tell me what you want to say. Village chief Meng Bai slowly picked up his cigar, pretending to be calm, took a puff, then secretly looked towards Zhang Yangping. He knew very clearly that based on strength alone, the Northern Mountain Village had an advantage over the Southern Mountain Village. Hence, he had decided, as long as the Northern Mountain Village promised to not cross the line in the future, this problem could be resolved satisfactorily. Alright. The main reason I am here in the southern mountain village today is to help little brother Zhengji testify the fact that Li Zhuangshi had secretly passed this pitfall location map to us, the northern mountain village hunting squad. Zhang Yangping didn't say anything further, handing over the yellowish paper map on his hand to village chief Meng Bai. 1. Zhengji in Chinese is, which means upright and honest. Chapter 45. Personal testification. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. This time, village chief Meng Bai was truly stunned. No matter how he tried to think, he couldn't understand why would Li Zhuangshi give the rock formation illustration to the northern mountain village hunting squad. The rock formation illustration was the biggest advantage of the southern mountain village. After Ding Qingshan and the rest's experiments, their hunting yield was indeed much greater than before. Li Zhuangshi giving the rock formation illustration to the northern mountain village. What was his purpose? For money. That's not possible. If Li Zhuangshi and the northern mountain village really underwent this trade, why would Zhang Yangping expose him? Furthermore, why are Zhang Yangping and Fang Jingji together? Furthermore, he even said that he was here to help Fang Jingji testify. What was this all about? A never-ending stream of questions caused village chief Meng Bai to have completely no idea what was going on. Yangping, please clarify what you had just said. Village chief Meng Bai picked up the illustration Zhang Yangping handed over. Looking at it, his face changed again. Because, this illustration was real. Zhang Yangping knew that village chief Meng Bai would ask, hence already prepared his answer. Thus, without missing out anything, he narrated how Li Zhuangshi secretly passed him the map, and then provided him information about Fang Jingji's whereabouts. So, you actually intended to ambush Fang Jingji. Village chief Meng Bai almost didn't dare to believe it. Yes. Zhang Yangping nodded. Looking at Fang Jingji who was at his side, his expression revealed a trace of guilt. Village chief didn't say anything further. He grasped the cigar on his hand tightly, his withered palms even turning white from using too much strength. Li Zhuangshi. Why would you do this? Wife. Get Li Zhuangshi and the Mrs. Li over, and, at the same time call Fang Hao and Mrs. Fang over as well. Don't let anyone know about this. After giving his instructions, village chief Meng Bai once again moodily smoked his cigar. Pacing around in his small room, his expression was extremely anxious and he didn't pay any further attention to Zhang Yangping and Fang Jingji. Fang Jingji thought, since village chief had already called over his own parents, then there shouldn't be much of a problem. Hence, he relaxed and smiled cheerfully, then leaned comfortably on the chair. Zhang Yangping came today to testify, hence naturally he had already prepared to confront Li Zhuangshi personally. Thus, he also waited quietly for Li Zhuangshi to arrive. Not too long later, Fang Hao, holding his walking stick and supported by Qin Xuelian, walked in. Once Qin Xuelian saw Fang Jingji lying on the chair, and Zhang Yangping sighted beside him, then village chief Meng Bai anxiously pacing around, she was startled. Did Jingji cause a trouble? Village chief, Jingji is still young. If he caused any trouble, we are willing to assume responsibility. Qin Xuelian immediately shouted out. When village chief Meng Bai, who was smoking his cigar gloomily, heard this, he became even more anxious and waved his hand furiously. Mrs. Fang, please take a seat first. Brother Yangping, did my son offend you in any way? Fang Hao recognized Zhang Yangping and asked worriedly, oh, little brother Jingji is your son. When Zhang Yangping saw Fang Hao, he was similarly taken aback. He was quite familiar with Fang Hao's personality, simple and kind, during every hunt he would definitely be at the front. He used to be a strong member of the Southern Mountain Village hunting squad, unfortunately, a few years ago, the Blue Fire Wolf. Once he thought of the Blue Fire Wolf, Zhang Yangping's eyes gazed at Fang Jingji, who was sitting at the side. Hao. You have nurtured a great son. Very quickly, Zhang Yangping explained the reason for his arrival. But, he didn't mention the Blue Fire Wolf incident. After all, things should be settled systematically. Most importantly, in Zhang Yangping's heart, Southern Mountain Village people definitely knew Fang Jingji's abilities. As a stranger, praising Fang Jingji would seem unnecessary. Furthermore, it could easily be misunderstood that Fang Jingji was in cahoots with other villages. After listening to Zhang Yangping's words, Fang Hao's and Qin Shuolian's expressions immediately changed. The Li family wants to sabotage my son. Qin Shuolian had been constantly concerned about Fang Jingji, and was the first to react. Tears immediately welled up in her eyes. Her own husband had contributed so much to the Southern Mountain Village, yet they didn't even a single benefit. Now when her own son had contributed the rock formation illustration, he was plotted against. Mrs. Fang, please mind your words, why would Li Zhuangshi sabotage his own people? Let's wait until Zhuangshi comes before discussing this further. Upon hearing, village chief Meng Bai became even moodier. Li Zhuangshi was the hope of the Southern Mountain Village. Furthermore, he was the only person in the Southern Mountain Village who was personally praised by General Li from the Divine Constabulary. As long as he passed the law of Dao examinations, he had a high chance of entering the Divine Constabulary. Colluding with other villages to sabotage Fang Jingji. If other villagers got to know about this, things would definitely go out of hand. After a quarter of an hour, Li Zhuangshi and Mrs. Li finally arrived, one followed by another. Mrs. Li's expression was that of irritation. Li Zhuangshi was currently studying in the Hall of Dao, yet he was called out. This would affect his studies, who was to bear responsibility for that. As she prepared to lash out, she saw Zhang Yangping and the yellowish paper illustration on village chief Meng Bai's hands. Then, looking at Fang Jingji and his family, the look on her face instantly changed. Village chief, the reason we did this, was for peace between the two villages, think about it. If we really had to fight on like this, the Southern Mountain Village would definitely suffer in the long term. Shut up. When Li Zhuangshi heard Mrs. Li's words, his initially somewhat calm expression completely changed. Naturally, he understood that they had been exposed. But, as long as he didn't admit it, what could these Southern Mountain Village people do to him? But now, after Mrs. Li's words left her mouth, he had to act. You really? Sigh. In reality, when village chief Meng Bai saw that illustration, he had already understood. After hearing Li Zhuangshi's and Mrs. Li's words, he confirmed his thoughts. He sighed heavily, but in his mind, he was calculating quickly how best to settle this problem. Under normal circumstances, the way to settle it would definitely be announcing it to the entire village, punish Li Zhuangshi in public and chase him out of the Southern Mountain Village. But, could he really chase Li Zhuangshi out of the Southern Mountain Village? Li Zhuangshi was the hope of the Southern Mountain Village, and most importantly, was the person noticed by General Li of the Divine Constabulary. Village Chief Meng Bai had completely no idea what to do. On one side was hope, and the other side was reason. Fang Hao and Qin Shuolian naturally also heard Mrs. Li's words. Fang Hao could temporarily restrain himself and waited for village chief Meng Bai's decision. Qin Shuolian on the other hand couldn't endure it anymore. Fang Jingji was her own son, Mrs. Li might be able to deceive others, but deceiving her. How could she even be deceived? Furthermore, Zhang Yangping had also claimed that Li Zhuangshi was the one who had provided information to Zhang Yangping about Fang Jingji's whereabouts. The intention was too clear. Li Zhuangshi, you purposely gave the illustration to the Northern Mountain Village, then provided information about Jingji's whereabouts. Evidently, you intend to sabotage Jingji. I'll definitely not endure this, I will report it to the entire village, and let the entire village bring justice to our Fang family. Qin Shuolian's tone didn't contain even the slightest intention to concede. Chapter 46. Father, you are listening at NovelFull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. Li Zhuangshi's face changed once again. He knew very clearly that if Qin Shuoyan announced this incident, he would definitely be denounced by the entire village, and even exiled from the village. Village Chief. I didn't reveal Fang Zhengji's whereabouts to Zhang Yangping. The illustration was indeed given by me, but that was because I have my own sorrows. Firstly, it is for the peace between the two villages. Secondly, it is about the money Zhang Yangping promised to give me. I did something silly for the sake of my studies, but now, Zhang Yangping evidently regretted, and ganged up with Fang Zhengji to sabotage me. Li Zhuangshi could only refuse to admit, and made use of the situation to put forth his own ideas, pushing all the blame onto Fang Zhengji and Zhang Yangping. Humph. You say my Zhengji and Zhang Yangping ganged up to sabotage you. If you can say this, where's your evidence? Qin Shuoyan instantly stood up. She never realized that a person's skin could be thick to such an extent. Li Zhuangshi didn't rush to retort, and instead, stealthily observed the change in expression on village chief Meng Bai's face. He knew very clearly that even he himself didn't believe what he had just said. But, if there was one person who believed, or if there was one person who was willing to believe, then things would be easier. There's hope. Village Chief Meng Bai actually didn't speak. Yes, if Village Chief Meng Bai didn't speak, that means that there is hope. Village Chief Meng Bai, I was wrong. I shouldn't have believed the Northern Mountain Village and I'd that bit of silver. But I was thinking for the future of the Southern Mountain Village. Studying is expensive, I am sure you know how hard the law of Dao examinations is. But, I have confidence. General Li of the Divine Constabulary even praised me personally. As long as I work hard, I would definitely be able to pass the law of Dao examinations. Then, the Southern Mountain Village would become prosperous. These people here are afraid. They are jealous. Li Zhuangshi immediately struck while the iron is hot. Disregarding everything else, he could only stake his chances on the law of Dao examinations and on Village Chief Meng Bai. Furthermore, he also skillfully portrayed his own importance in the village. He was betting that Village Chief Meng Bai would not exile him from the Southern Mountain Village. All of you shut up. Wife. Close the door. Village Chief Meng Bai couldn't take it anymore, and glared fiercely at Li Zhuangshi. The hand holding his cigar trembled slightly, and a heavy sigh came out of his mouth. The room wasn't very big. The atmosphere was fairly strange, everybody sat silently on their chairs, all their expressions different from one another. Village Chief Meng Bai pondered intensely. Convince the Fang family. Ask the Fang family to keep this secret. Firstly, seeing Qin Shuoyan's attitude, he was no idea if they would agree. Secondly, paper cannot contain a fire, the truth would eventually spread. Even if the Fang family remained silent, who was to say that the Northern Mountain Village people won't speak about this? Problems would definitely arise sooner or later once it was known that Li Zhuangshi had sabotaged Fang Zhengji. No, this cannot happen. Li Zhuangshi was the hope of the Southern Mountain Village, the person which the Divine Constabulary had praised. Furthermore, his family occupies 2 slots in the Hall of Dao, that was something that had to be reported up to the Divine Constabulary. The previous time, the Divine Constabulary's missus had even personally tested Li Hui. This meant that the Divine Constabulary had pinned their hopes on the Li family. If the Fang family's actions were made known to the Divine Constabulary, would they be disappointed in the Fang family, or even because of this, be disappointed at the Southern Mountain Village? Village Chief Meng Bai frowned deeper, habitually placing the cigar in his mouth, yet realizing that the cigar had already finished burning. This made him even moodier. Sacrificed the Fang family. When this thought crossed Village Chief Meng Bai's head, he felt a bleeding sensation in his heart. Fang Hao is also someone who had contributed to the village. Furthermore, Fang Zhengji's performance in the hunting squad was excellent, and even drawn the rock formation illustration for the Southern Mountain Village hunting squad. How could he bring himself to let the Fang family to be mistakenly accused? Sigh. Village Chief Meng Bai sighed deeply, feeling as if he had aged another 10 years. At this moment, he felt a huge mountain pressing down heavily on his body, pressing so hard that he couldn't even straighten his back. Village Chief, it's obvious. Li Zhuangshi wants to use the northern mountain village to harm my son. If this incident isn't properly dealt with, we refuse to accept it. Refuse to accept it. Refuse to accept it. Qin Shuoyan's voice echoed around the small room, causing Village Chief Meng Bai to feel as if he had been hammered in his heart. Mrs. Li's mouth twitched, wanting to speak, but was slapped across the face by Li Zhuangshi. It's all your fault, asking me to participate in the law of Dao examinations. Look what happened now. People are offended. People are jealous. No matter how hard I work in the future, there would be no rewards. The southern mountain village can only remain poor forever. Slapped in the face by Li Zhuangshi, Mrs. Li was indeed taken aback. Just as she prepared to start a fight with him, she quickly realized what was happening. It's my fault, I shouldn't have allowed Zhuangshi to enter that hall of Dao. Our Li family used to be reputable in the southern mountain village, but ever since he entered the hall of Dao, our portion of meat had decreased, and the cost of studying for the two people in our family had increased so much. All those paper, ink, they are all money, we can't be carrying on living like this. Mrs. Li used the tantrum-throwing technique. Village Chief Meng Bai's expression instantly changed again. He knew it was time for him to make the decision. On one side was the future of the southern mountain village, on the other was the Fong family which had contributed to the southern mountain village. Old Fong family, I'm sorry. I represent all the villagers in the southern mountain village and hereby kneel down to you. The southern mountain village can't lose its hope. Once Village Chief Meng Bai finished his sentence, he instantly slammed to the ground on both knees. His entire body started to tremble. Fong Hao was stunned. Qin Shuoyan was also stunned. A cold glint shone in Li Zhuangshi's eyes. He knew that he won the bet. Mrs. Li covered her face and stopped her bawling. She paused her act, her eyes filled with satisfaction as she looked at Fong Hao and Qin Shuoyan. Fong Jingji stared at Village Chief Meng Bai kneeling on the ground, then looked at Qin Shuoyan and Fong Hao, their faces filled with disbelief, and didn't say a word. He knew that since this village chief in front of him had made a decision, then any further arguments would only contribute to making them a laughingstock. Dad, Mom, let's leave. Yes. Jingji, let's leave. Qin Shuoyan instantly recovered from her shocked state after hearing Fong Jingji's words. There were no tears in her eyes, she only wanted to leave this place as soon as possible, and not expose Fong Jingji to such personalities. Because, Fong Jingji was only 7. Village Chief. Fong Hao still didn't dare to believe. He had done so much for the southern mountain village, yet he didn't even have the ability to acquit his own son. How could he accept this? Fong Jingji and Zhang Yangping of the northern mountain village had conspired together to sabotage Li Zhuangshi. Now as the southern mountain village chief, I declare that the Fong family is now exiled from the southern mountain village. Exiled from the southern mountain village. Exiled from the southern mountain village. The voice of Village Chief Meng Bai rang out like thunder in Fong Hao's heart, causing the walking stick on his hands to tremble. Ha ha ha. All right. Li Zhuangshi, today the southern mountain village has protected you. But, I, Fong Hao, will definitely avenge for my son. Fong Hao's laughter suddenly rang out. Then, his gaze turned cold, and the walking stick on his hands instantly swung towards Li Zhuangshi. So what if he was simple? So what if he was kind and sincere? As a father, he only had one wish, that was to protect his one and only son as well as he could. What to do if his own son was wronged? Then he must fight, even if he cannot win, he still must fight. Because he was a father. Overestimating yourself. Li Zhuangshi saw the walking stick smashing towards him and was completely unconcerned. Even when Fong Hao was at his peak, he still couldn't compare to Li Zhuangshi. Moreover, now Fong Hao had a broken arm, and his leg was heavily injured as well. A fist punched out. Li Zhuangshi wanted to use reality to let village chief Meng Bai understand, his decision was absolutely right. Humph, overestimating yourself. Right at this moment, another huff rang out coldly. Then, a figure flashed past village chief Meng Bai, and stood in front of Fong Hao. Boom! One small fist and one large fist smashed into each other. Chapter 47. The Dumbest Decision. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. It was too fast, so fast that people were simply unable to react. Even Li Zhuangshi was only able to recognize the other person after the two fists connected. A glimmer of shock flashed across his eyes, but the shock quickly turned into a cold smile. But the cold smile didn't last for long before it completely vanished. Because, he felt, from that seemingly weak fist, the power of the violent surge of a mountain torrent erupted. Resist. He didn't even manage to consider this before the huge strength swept him off his feet, his body smashing onto the stone walls of the small house like a kite with a broken string. Snap! On the thick stone walls, due to the huge impact force, a web-like crack began to emerge. Li Zhuangshi's face instantly turned a deathly shade of white. His chest rumbled, opening his mouth, he suddenly vomited a mouthful of fresh blood. Gazing at Fang Zhengji, whose face was filled with calm, he didn't dare to believe no matter what that this was real. What was that humongous strength all about? Was it strength that man could control? How did he achieve this? He is just a 7-year-old kid. This village chief Meng Bai was completely stunned. Similarly, he didn't dare to believe this scene that unfolded in front of his eyes. From the second Fong Hao attacked, to Li Zhuangshi's countermove, then the sudden appearance of a figure. All these happened too fast. He didn't even understand at all what has transpired. Why did Li Zhuangshi suddenly fly back? Why is there a crack in the stone wall? This is not possible. How can this be possible? Li Zhuangshi was sent flying by Fang Zhengji's single punch. How can this be possible? When Mrs. Li initially saw Fong Hao lash out with the walking stick, her heart was filled with ridicule. She knew her own husband's strength. In a contest of strength, Fong Hao's actions were simply asking for trouble. But, she didn't understand, how did the contest of strength turn into Fang Zhengji? Fong Hao's walking stick forcibly stopped in mid-air, his gaze tightly fixated on this seemingly weak figure. But it was this very figure who had done what he had wanted to but couldn't do most. Furthermore, he did it so directly and efficiently, who would dare believe this? Fong Hao's mouth twitched slightly, scenes reconstructing themselves in his mind. I want to enter the hunting squad. Mum, leave that gold to take care of Dad. He is my son. He is my, Fong Hao's, son. Qin Shuilian's mouth was also agape at this moment. When she saw Fong Hao lash out, she wanted to hold him back. Because, she knew that Fong Hao would definitely suffer. But, she didn't do that. As a father, he should stand out like a man. Even if he obviously knew he was going to suffer, but for his own son, what was he to be scared of? But the sudden change in situation indeed was something she simply couldn't believe. Zhengji. My Zhengji. Sent Li Zhuangshi flying. One fist. Using only one first. Qin Shuilian felt the scene in front of her suddenly become blurry. A teardrop rolled down. My Zhengji really can now support this family. The atmosphere in the room once again became mysterious. Nobody opened their mouth to speak, all their gazes ending up on Li Zhuangshi. That was a person who lifted 500 pounds of black cauldron. What happened? He flew. Those who humiliates others, will definitely be humiliated. Fang Zhengji insipidly took a look at Li Zhuangshi, then trained his gaze onto Mrs. Li at the side. Mrs. Li was instantly taken aback, a gust of cold air rushed from below her feet to her back. She instinctively took a step back, then, just happened to knock into the chair behind her. Her entire body instantly toppled backwards, and sat down onto the floor with a plop. This sound finally snapped the crowd in the room back into reality. Ha ha ha. Well said, little brother Zhengji. Those who humiliates others, will definitely be humiliated. Even though I am a crude man, but I still can discern that this sentence contains deep wisdom. At this moment, Zhang Yangping, sitting by the side, suddenly stood up. His gaze swept across Li Zhuangshi, who was leaning against the wall, then finally ended up onto village chief Meng Bai, whose face was filled with shock. Village chief, your southern mountain village has indeed opened up my eyes today. I seem to have heard that you claim that Li Zhuangshi is the hope of the southern mountain village, is that correct? Did you know, this is the biggest joke I, Zhang Yangping, have ever heard in my entire life. Ha ha ha. I, Zhang Yangping, have never been scared of anybody in any village in this area, but my objective for coming to the southern mountain village today is to achieve two things. Firstly, to attest for Fang Zhengji about the trap illustration incident. Secondly, I wish to discuss a peace treaty with the southern mountain village. The northern mountain village is even willing to pay money each month to the southern mountain village in order to achieve this peace. Do you know the reason why? Because of one person, Fang Zhengji. But, we don't need to beg for peace anymore, because Fang Zhengji is no longer a person from your southern mountain village. Hence, I have to tell you this. Today, village chief. You have made the dumbest decision ever. The dumbest decision ever. The dumbest decision ever. Zhang Yanping's voice reverberated throughout the small house, then, he strode behind Fang Zhengji and reached into the huge basket behind his back. Village chief, do you think this hope of the southern mountain village can kill this? Whoosh! A humongous blood-stained fur coat instantly unrolled itself in front of everybody's eyes. Long strands of blue fur stood upright, as hard as needles. On its back, the fire-red fur that extended from the forehead all the way to the tail emitted an air of blood. Even though it was only a coat of fur, but the air of a savage beast still remained incredibly powerful, filling the entire room. Everybody's gaze was completely fixed. Li Zhuangshi finally started to feel a hint of terror. How could he not know what this fur coat represented? But, he didn't dare to believe. Or it could be said, no matter what, he didn't want to believe. Mrs. Li, who had already crawled back up, after suddenly seeing this fur coat, her legs instantly gave way and was so frightened that she immediately sat back down. A complicated glint shone in Fang Hao's eyes. In them, there was agitation, there was anger, there was hate, there was relief. But, in the end, all these emotions turned into a drop of hot tears. It wasn't easy for a man to shed tears. Arm my arm. Howd, do you see this? Do you see this? Zhengji, our Zhengji, has taken revenge for you. Qin Shuoyan couldn't control her tears anymore, grabbing tightly, she shook Fang Hao's empty sleeve. Village Chief Meng Bai's initial expression of shock instantly turned into a dark reddish-purple shade. He didn't dare to believe, Fang Zhengji previously sending Li Zhuangshi flying was already something so shocking that nobody would dare to believe. That meant that the scene unfolding in front of him was simply terrifying. Terror that comes from the depth of the soul. Blue Fire Wolf. Chapter 48. Scenery. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. Village Chief Meng Bai had difficulties even opening this mouth. The air of savageness emitted by the blue fire wolf's body had even caused his body to tremble. Blue fire wolf, the real blue fire wolf skin, there is no second one in the entire Cangling mountain outskirt. Why did it suddenly appear in Fang Jingji's basket? Zhang Yangping just said that Fang Jingji. Fang Jingji killed the blue fire wolf. This. How can it be possible? Village Chief Meng Bai thought of the predicament of the southern mountain village these few years, and thought of all the fateful occasions when the hunting squad encountered the blue fire wolf. Yet today, the king of the Cangling mountain outskirts had quietly appeared right in front of him. Except, he had just exiled the person who killed it from the southern mountain village. Today, village chief. You have made the dumbest decision ever. The dumbest decision ever. The dumbest decision ever. Zhang Yangping's words echoed about his ears. Village Chief Meng Bai sat, completely unable to move, on the floor. The cigar on his hands had already fallen somewhere far away. Once they have walked out from Village Chief Meng Bai's house, Zhang Yangping had followed tightly behind Fang Jingji. Little brother Jingji, the southern mountain village exiling you, that is a good thing. Oh. Sorry, I didn't mean that. What I meant was, the southern mountain village might not be the best place, why not you consider our northern mountain village? Our northern mountain village has verdant hills and limpid waters. As long as you are willing to come to the northern mountain village, I promise I will give. Hey, little brother Jingji, don't go away. Fang Jingji didn't reply Zhang Yangping, and quietly followed beside Fang Haod and Qin Shuolian. The family of three returned to their door of their small mud house in silence. Qin Shuolian patted Fang Jingji's hair, the expression in her eyes was somewhat complicated. Jingji, did you really kill the blue fire wolf? Yes. Jingji nodded. Good, very good. I, Fang Haod, am truly satisfied to have a son like you. But, sigh. Fang Haod looked at Fang Jingji, then looked at the rising chimney smoke around him with a desolate look in his eyes. Qin Shuolian's gaze swept across the mud house, and discreetly wiped away the moisture at her eyes with a handkerchief, then, quickly began to pack. Fang Jingji didn't say anything further, and only quietly observed. He understood very clearly his dad's current feelings. Growing up in the southern mountain village since young, his dad had contributed and sacrificed everything for this southern mountain village. Even after losing an arm, he still continued to participate in the hunting squad's mountain expeditions. But in the end, he was chased out of the village. Even though Qin Shuolian didn't grow up in the southern mountain village, but, in this era, women that were married out were like water that was thrown out, who would have the face to return back to their mother's house. In reality, Fang Jingji knew, after Zhang Yangping took out the blue fire wolf skin, the situation could still be salvaged. As long as his dad opened his mouth, everything would return back to normal. But, once a person's heart had been broken to such an extent, could it still return back to normal? Mom, Dad. Let's leave. Looking at the setting sun, Fang Jingji shot a meaningful glance towards Zhang Yangping, and walked to Qin Shuolian and Fang Haod's side. Let's leave. Fang Haod once again looked back and sighed. Actually, we indeed haven't returned home in some time. Qin Shuolian tried to make herself happier as she packed her luggage. Dad, Mum, do you wish to learn the law of Tao? Good son. The law of Tao can't be learnt so easily, normal people like us wouldn't be so fortunate. Fang Haod looked at his arm, and shook his head. What are you saying? Isn't our son already reading the law of Tao? Isn't that right, Jingji? Qin Shuolian instantly became somewhat unhappy. Yes, Mum is right. Not only am I reading the law of Tao, I can even understand everything that is written on it. I can even memorize an entire portion the law of Tao. Dad, Mum, I can really teach you to learn the law of Tao. Fang Jingji looked at Fang Haod and Qin Shuolian with an earnest look on his young face. The expression on Fang Haod's face instantly froze. Qin Shuolian also looked at Fang Jingji, her face filled with shock. She absolutely couldn't believe it, but they were words that came from her own son. But, as his mother, how could she doubt them? Fang Zhengji began to recite. This is the 6 combinations travel tactics from Law of Tao and the Art of Becoming Invisible chapter. When Fang Haod finished reciting, he patiently explained it to Fang Haod and Qin Shuolian. My son had successfully self-studied. The bag Qin Shuolian held in her hands instantly fell to the ground. I never expected Sister Shuolian's hometown was actually the northern mountain village. Ha ha ha. This is excellent. Zhang Yangping exclaimed happily as he helped to pack the luggage. Going to the northern mountain village, I have one request. As Fang Zhengji looked at Zhang Yangping laughed delightedly, he couldn't resist dampening his enthusiasm. Little brother Zhengji, if you have any request, please say it. As long as the northern mountain village can do it, we will definitely accept. When Zhang Yangping heard this, he instantly thumped his chest, expressing that he would guarantee it. I want to have the entire Law of Tao. The entire Law of Tao. Zhang Yangping was taken aback. Collecting and amassing the entire Law of Tao wasn't a small sum of money. It required the effort of the entire village to achieve that. As a form of repayment, I am willing to make an edit to the rock formation illustration that Li Zhuangshi gave to you. Fang Zhengji knew that collecting the entire Law of Tao was indeed rather difficult, hence decided to make an exchange. That illustration can still be further edited. Zhang Yangping asked in disbelief. Yes, I just have to add something on top of it, make some changes, then. All the rock formations the southern mountain village created on the Zhongling mountain will belong entirely to the northern mountain village. Fang Zhengji explained. Really? Zhang Yangping instantly became excited. Yes. Fang Zhengji nodded. Good, good, good. This is great. If this was really possible, I will definitely convince the entire village to work together and put together the entire Law of Tao for little brother Zhengji. When he thought of the expressions of the southern mountain village people when all the rock formations they had put in so much effort to set up turned into the northern mountain villages overnight, Zhang Yangping felt a wave of delight. This period of time, because of the rock formations, the northern mountain village had suffered quite a lot, even their weapons were almost entirely gone. Thank you. Fang Zhengji was willing to believe Zhang Yangping's promise. Right, little brother Zhengji, what do you want the Law of Tao for? After the terms were settled, Zhang Yangping became slightly curious. Of course, it is to participate in the Law of Tao examinations. Law of Tao examinations. Then I suggest you give up, the Law of Tao examinations is too hard. Furthermore, there is still a theory exam, and there is no Hall of Tao in our northern mountain village. You can't possibly self-study, can you? Yes. Yes. Wait a minute, what is yes supposed to mean? You really intend to self-study. That's right. Zhang Yangping stared at Fang Zhengji's expression of calm, and suddenly was at a loss for words. Self-study, participate in the Law of Tao examinations. Can he not make such a humorous joke? Fang Zhengji didn't explain further, and looked back at the already faraway village behind him. Southern Mountain Village, the next time I see you, I wonder what kind of scenery I will see. Not too long after Fang Zhengji and the rest left the southern mountain village, a squad of soldiers clad in bright, shining armor guarding a huge sedan quickly marched in. Village chief Meng Bai was sitting within the courtyard, holding the cigar in his hands, sighing in despair as he stared at the setting sun. Fang Zhengji, Fang Zhengji. What a good child! If this didn't happen, what would happen if he could enter the Hall of Tao? In the future. Sigh. Village chief Meng Bai understood that it was already too late to regret. He could only hope that the choice he made was a right one. After all, the Hall of Tao and the Law of Tao examinations were what really changed a person's destiny. Village chief, village chief. Quick, quick. The divine constabulary people are here, and The missus from the Divine Constabulary has also come personally. Right at this moment, a village hurriedly ran over and shouted, panting heavily. Village Chief Mengbai was stunned. Divine Constabulary. The missus from the Divine Constabulary came personally. Bless the heavens, hopefully great fortune would come this time. He prayed silently in his heart, then recalled the previous incident when the Divine Constabulary's missus tested Li Hue. Go, call along the old Li family, ask them to bring along Hue and welcome the Divine Constabulary's missus together. Village Chief Meng Bai kept his cigar, as if having found the last glimmer of light in the abyss of darkness. Okay, BVC. Chapter 49. Divine Constabulary orders. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. News of the Divine Constabulary's missus visiting the southern mountain village once again spread in a flash throughout the entire village. Once they heard this news, the villagers instantly became very excited. This was a fortune from heaven. Nobody important ever visited the southern mountain village of before. But now, within the span of less than 2 months, people from the Divine Constabulary arrived and again. Moreover, the Divine Constabulary's missus even personally arrived the second time. What did this represent? This represented that the Divine Constabulary's missus remembered the southern mountain village. As long as the Divine Constabulary's missus remembered the southern mountain, that was an opportunity, a huge opportunity that meant great fortune and hope. Village Chief Meng Bai anxiously dragged Li Hue on one hand, holding a cigar in another, and hurriedly brought along Li Zhuangshi and Mrs. Li along with the rest of the villagers to the village entrance. After a wave of braying coming from the snow-treading dragon stallions, few hundred people strong army finally stopped. Leading the army, General Li didn't hurry to dismount after seeing the crowd, and instead turned his head to look at the large sedan adorned with jade-colored pearls. The curtains of the large sedan opened from inside. Lady Yue, wearing a beautiful dress, raised her small head arrogantly and walked out. Her hands even held a roll of white cloth. Looking at the crowd of villagers in front of her, Lady Yue huffed softly and then bowed her body and pulled open the sedan curtains from the outside. Then, wearing a sky-blue dress, with a jade-green flower in her hair, wearing her gold-threaded red shoes, runaway Lolita Chi Gaian slowly emerged from within the sedan. Southern Mountain Village Chief, along with the rest of the villagers, welcomes Mrs. Once he saw runaway Lolita Chi Gaian, Village Chief Meng Bai instantly became delighted and knelt down, pulling Li Hue down with him. When the rest of the villagers witnessed this, they also knelt down immediately. The Divine Constabulary controlled the desert. Not even mentioning the southern mountain village, even officials from the county and capital had to pay respects when they saw the Divine Constabulary's missus. Rise! Runaway Lolita Chi Gaian's jet-black eyes swept across the villagers. Realizing that Fang Zhengji wasn't among them, she laughed coldly to herself. You indeed went into hiding. But, you can't run away today. Yue, reveal it. Yes, Mrs. Lady Yue immediately leapt down from the sedan and walked to the front of the crowd when she heard Lolita Chi Gaian's orders. Then, she slowly unrolled the white cloth on her hands. Eyeing the white cloth, excitement instantly began to rise in his heart. He initially believed the main purpose of the Divine Constabulary's missus visiting the southern mountain village was to take a break from her journey, but now it seemed that she was here to convey orders from the Divine Constabulary. Furthermore, looking at the rather gentle expressions of General Li and Lady Yue, it meant that the Divine Constabulary's visit to the southern mountain village bore no ill intent. An order that involved so many people, yet not bearing any ill intent. Could it be that a great opportunity is about to befall on us? But, I wonder whose family would have this fortune. As Village Chief Meng Bai thought, he gazed at Li Hue who was standing by his side, and instinctively tightened his grip. He had to seem as if he was extremely close to the Li family. Only through this could he convince the divine constabulary's missus that she had great insight and knew how to identify talents. Li Zhuangshi and the rest of the villagers' eyes also lit up when they saw Lady Yue pull out the roll of white cloth. Even the injury on his chest didn't feel painful anymore. The divine constabulary's missus has arrived personally. Could it be that great fortune is about to befall on us? I wonder whether it would befall on me, or on Hure. Li Zhuangshi was so agitated that he didn't even know where to put his hands. Lady Yue finally completely revealed the roll of cloth. Looking at the crowd of villagers in front of her, she coughed softly. Her expression remained haughty. The divine constabulary brings about good fortune everywhere, controlling the 5 capitals and 20.7 counties in the northern desert. Has specially given this great fortune today, welcoming Southern Mountain Village villager, Fang Xingji, into the divine constabulary. When Lady Yue had finished reading, she rolled back the white cloth, shifted her gaze towards village chief Meng Bai and waited for him to receive the orders. Yet, village chief Meng Bai was completely stunned. Hearing this, his initial joyful expression instantly changed into a deathly shade of white. Welcome. Welcome Fang Xingji into the divine constabulary. Village chief Meng Bai raised his head, gazing at the darkening sky that now only contained rays from the setting sun. His entire body felt as if he was hit 1,000,000 times and fell to the ground. Fang Xingji. A shiver also went down Li Zhuangshi's spine. Fang Xingji was about to enter the divine constabulary. How could this be true? Wait, no, how could this be possible? He had made the Fang family. No, Fang Xingji must not enter the divine constabulary. Village chief. Li Zhuangshi didn't wait for the rest of the villagers to speak, and instantly rushed to village chief Meng Bai's side. Then, he vigorously gave village chief Meng Bai a meaningful look, his expression terrified. If Fang Xingji had really entered the divine constabulary, it would be a huge disaster to both the Li family and the entire southern mountain village. Shaken by Li Zhuangshi, village chief Meng Bai instantly regained his senses. How could he not understand what Li Zhuangshi was trying to convey? But he regretted. He really regretted. If he hadn't made that decision today, then this piece of news in front of him would definitely be the happiest occasion that had ever befell on the southern mountain village since its inception. Fang Xingji is going to enter the divine constabulary. Why isn't the old Fang family here? Quick, go and notify them. What a happy occasion, the happiest occasion ever. A few of the villagers who didn't know that Fang Xingji had been exiled welled up with excitement when they heard Lady Yue's words. Even though they didn't know why was Fang Xingji invited into the divine constabulary, but it was still an extremely happy occasion. Why have you not received the orders? Lady Yue, holding the white cloth in her hands, waited for a while, yet nobody went up to receive the orders. She instantly became somewhat unhappy. Replying the constabulary's question. I am guilty. Village chief Meng Bai suddenly crawled up, then once again knelt down on the ground after hearing Lady Yue's words. A faint ray of light flashed within runaway Lolita Chi Gaian's jet-black eyes when she witnessed this scene. She was somewhat confused. She had personally invited that little bastard Fang Xingji into the divine constabulary. The southern mountain village should be grateful. Why did he suddenly say that he was guilty? When Li Zhuangshi and Mrs. Li heard village chief Meng Bai plead guilty, they instantly became alerted. This village chief better not be stupid. Now Fang Xingji already didn't belong to the southern mountain village. If the divine constabulary had managed to locate Fang Xingji, the southern mountain village would definitely land into big trouble as well. Reporting to Mrs. Fang Xingji has already left the village, including his parents. They have all left the southern mountain village. I wasn't able to keep them. I am guilty. Tears rolled down village chief Meng Bai's eyes. He really regretted so much that he wasn't even able to stop his tears. Left the village. Runaway Lolita Chi Gaian was slightly taken aback. She would never have thought that such a thing would happen. Left the village. Why must he leave the village? What is the reason Fang Zhengji left the village? Runaway Lolita Chi Gaian looked at village chief Meng Bai. This. A wave of hesitation rose inside village chief Meng Bai. Gazing at Li Zhuangshi, he finally gritted his teeth. It's my fault. Previous Fang Zhengji's dad Fang Hao encountered the blue fire wolf on the Cangling mountain and was attacked. When he returned, he couldn't recover properly. Hence, in order to seek better treatment, they left the southern mountain village. Village chief Meng Bai had also considered pinning the crime on Fang Zhengji for sabotaging Li Zhuangshi, but he didn't do so. Because sabotaging a person regarded as important by the divine constabulary was the dumbest of actions. Furthermore, more importantly, village chief Meng Bai felt a sense of guilt towards the Fang family. He didn't want Fang Zhengji to enter the divine constabulary, but at the same time, he also wished that Fang Zhengji was able to enter the divine constabulary. This was a very complicated feeling. Audacious Meng Bai, do you know what is the punishment for lying to the divine constabulary? Chapter 50. 8 years you are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. As a powerful general in the fierce battlefields, the amount of people General Li led was over 100,000. Not even mentioning the strange tone of village chief Meng Bai's words, just his stammering alone was enough for him to confirm that the other person was lying. After a roar, he leapt down from the snow-treading dragon stallion and arrived in front of village chief Meng Bai. A sword glowing with an icy glint instantly pressed itself against village chief Meng Bai's neck. Ah! The sudden change in situation caused the entire southern mountain villagers' eyes to widen, crying out sharply. But, nobody dared to move. General Li, please spare my life. Village chief Meng Bai's entire body trembled with fear. Feeling the chilling air around his neck, he instinctively wanted to dodge, but the strong air of death that emanated from General Li caused him to remain rooted to the ground. Speak, why did Fang Zhengji leave the village? General Li completely ignored village chief Meng Bai's pleas, pulling his sword, a trickle of blood flowed down its tip. Instantly, village chief Meng Bai's entire back was soaked with sweat. Without even being concerned about the sharp pain in his neck, his entire body began to tremble violently. He knew very clearly the methods of the divine constabulary. If they really wanted to investigate, there was simply no way to hide. Li Zhuangshi and Mrs. Li were similarly taken aback. Looking at the sword placed on village chief Meng Bai's neck, they knew that they could no longer avoid the inevitable. Meng Bai, I will give you one more chance to speak the truth. A few days later would be my father's birthday, hence, I can promise that I won't kill today. At this moment, runaway Lolita Chi Gaian spoke. Runaway Lolita Chi Gaian's tone was calm, but village chief Meng Bai knew that this was the last opportunity that the divine constabulary would give to the southern mountain village. Village chief Meng Bai regretted, this was obviously a happy occasion, yet, things had to become like this. He had personally destroyed the southern mountain village's greatest hope. It is me who exiled Fang Zhengji from the southern mountain village. Village chief Meng Bai knelt down onto the ground. He knew, once these words left his mouth, that there was no turning back. Village chief has exiled Fang Zhengji from the southern mountain village. What is going on? Why did he exile Fang Zhengji and his family from the southern mountain village? The old Fang family had contributed so much to the village. The villagers instantly became agitated when they heard these words. Fang Hao lost his arm for the southern mountain village, and furthermore, Fang Zhengji had even contributed the rock formation illustration to the southern mountain village. These were great contributions. When Li Zhuangshi and Mrs. Li heard these words, their legs also weakened, and fell onto the ground. It's over, now, everything will be over. Village Chief Meng Bai didn't dare to conceal anything further, because it was simply impossible to do so. Even if he didn't admit it, the Northern Mountain Village people would also know about this incident. Hence, he revealed everything from the moment Fang Zhengji drew the rock formation illustration, to when Fang Zhengji killed the blue fire wolf. What? Fang Zhengji killed the blue fire wolf. My God, the blue fire wolf was killed by Fang Zhengji. How is this possible? The blue fire wolf. When the villagers heard the last few sentences, they were completely stunned. The king of the Zhongling mountain outskirts, the blue fire wolf, had actually been killed by Fang Zhengji. This was something people simply couldn't believe. Fang Zhengji was still a 7-year-old kid. A talent, a real talent. That little bastard killed the blue fire wolf. Runaway Lolita Chi Gaian was truly taken aback this time. The blue fire wolf's power wasn't very strong, but its speed was too fast. Even if she had encountered it, she couldn't guarantee that she would be able to kill it. Similarly, shock was written all over General Li's face. This time when he followed his missus to invite Fang Zhengji, he was still rather dubious of her intent. It was only a 7-year-old kid, what could be so special about him? But, after hearing Village Chief Meng Bai's words, all his suspicion instantly vanished. A 7-year-old kid killing the blue fire wolf. His missus's foresight was indeed something he, and the rest of the people, couldn't compare with. Missus, the Southern Mountain Village is so inflexible in their actions, furthermore they are simply selfish in the way they carry out their decisions. Why not we simply dismantle the Southern Mountain Village's Hall of Dao? Lady Yuer seemed somewhat infuriated. Please don't. I beg Missus, please don't dismantle the Hall of Dao. Meng Bai is willing to take responsibility for everything. When Village Chief Meng Bai heard, he lay down on the ground. He knew very clearly that if the Hall of Dao was to be dismantled, that meant the last glimmer of hope for the Southern Mountain Village would be completely gone. Missus, please don't dismantle the Hall of Dao. Missus, please don't dismantle the Hall of Dao. Missus, please. One followed by another, the rest of the villagers also began to kneel down. No matter how big a mistake Village Chief Meng Bai made, the Hall of Dao was ultimately still the hope of the entire Southern Mountain Village. Missus, I know that Missus is kind and merciful, please don't take away the last hope of the Southern Mountain Village. I am willing to use my life to guarantee that within 10 years. No, 8 years, within 8 years, the Southern Mountain Village Hall of Dao will definitely produce someone who can enter the first-level role in the county law of Dao examinations. Village Chief Meng Bai furiously pounded the ground with his head, until blood began to flow. Please Missus. Please Missus. The rest of the villagers also began to kowtow. I understand, since the truth has been revealed, I will keep my promise just now. Village Chief Meng Bai is old and muddled. 30 strokes of the cane and remove him from the position of village chief. The Li family. Li Zhuangshi will be caned 100 strokes, the rest, 20 strokes. Runaway Lolita Chi Gaian waved her hands and didn't speak further. Thank you Missus. Thank you Missus for sparing our lives. Village Chief Meng Bai instantly lay on the ground, his entire back soaked with sweat. Thank you Missus. Li Zhuangshi instantly pulled Mrs. Li down and lay on the ground as well. Within 8 years, if nobody from the Southern Mountain Village manages to enter the county law of Dao examinations first-class role, I will deal out punishment regarding today's crimes as well as for attempting to lie, at the same time, demolish the Southern Mountain Village Hall of Dao. Runaway Lolita Chi Gaian looked at the crowd kneeling down on the ground and spoke once again. Thank you Missus, Missus is kind and merciful. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Military canes struck the bodies of Village Chief Meng Bai and the 3 members of the Li family. But, among the surrounding villagers, nobody was unhappy with the outcome. Because, just like village chief Mangbai said, the divine constabulary being merciful and not killing them was already a gift from heavens. From today onwards, the Southern Mountain village chief will now be held by Ding Qingshan. General Li announced after familiarizing himself with the situation. Roger. Ding Qingshan walked out of the crowd and knelt down to express his gratitude. Do you know where Fang Zhengji has headed off to? This. Replying generally, I don't know. Ding Qingshan shook his head. He indeed didn't know where Fang Zhengji went. All right. General Li nodded, then walked to runaway Lolita Chi Gaian's side. Missus, should we send some people to search in the surrounding villages? At this moment, runaway Lolita Chi Gaian was mesmerized by the last streak of color from the setting sun. After hearing General Li's words, she pondered slightly and shook her head. There is no need. The Tao of all creations emphasizes nature. Everything is determined by the will of heaven. Since we missed this current opportunity, it would be meaningless to force it again. This order. Burn it. Lolita looked at the white roll of cloth on Lady Yuer's hands and waved her hands. Nobody knew her true intent of inviting Fang Zhengji into the divine constabulary. It was only to add some joy to her life and to be able to torture him every day. Recruit talents. With the reputation of the divine constabulary, there were so many people who could only dream of entering it. No matter how talented he was ultimately still a kid who hadn't even accessed Tao. Talent. Indeed, it was said, one's gains are worth celebrating, losses shouldn't be regretted. If one really had the ability, wasn't there indeed no harm in waiting a few more years? Return to the constabulary. Return to the constabulary. Runaway Lolita Chi Gaian didn't bother staying at the Southern Mountain village any further, and returned into her big sedan. Pouting slightly, Lady Yuer sat down at one side. Mrs. Yuer doesn't understand, why didn't you dismantle the Hall of Tao? Until now, Lady Yuer still couldn't comprehend why was her missus's temper so good today. The objective of the Hall of Tao is to spread Tao. Even though the Southern Mountain village chief is unwise, it is not representation of everybody. If we dismantled the Hall of Tao just like that, it would harm the hearts of the people. No wonder, Yuer understands now. Mrs. is thinking about the entire northern lands. Northern lands. Ha. Runaway Lolita Chi Gaian shook her head, smiled slightly and didn't speak any further. She stared out silently at the shrinking sight of the village outside, her lips curved into a smile. Little bastard, since you have been humiliated today, I, Chi Gaian, will temporarily let you off. But, since you were able to solve the illustration of all creation, and killed the blue fire wolf, then, I believe one day, we will meet again. When the time comes, I can only hope that you won't be too weak.